Well, hey there, it's Jen.
And Elke, and welcome back to another episode of our Zazzle Expansion Expert Information. I don't know, we're trying different taglines. See which one you like best. So here's the backstory. Jen and I are on the Zazzle platform, which is a print-on-demand platform, and we've been on the platform since 2008. Between the two of us, we've sold over $15 million worth of Zazzle products, and that equates to about 1.5 million in earnings for the two of us. Okay. So, and just to start this video out right, since we're talking money, don't want to in any way get in trouble because we only report what are true numbers and also the clients' true numbers that we've helped it teach since we became teachers and coaches after having figured out the Zazzle platform. Okay. So, we can never make any income claims. This is all educational, but what we're doing this video is actually providing a case study, but we're not going to go into a lot of details because that's confidential and private for the person who earned $720,000 using the Zazzle platform after going through our training and our coaching and our one-on-one coaching program, our mastermind. He's been with us since 2017.
Mhm.
And he started when we first started making a course after realizing that so many people on the platform were going, I can't make money, it's not working, Zazzle's a scam. And we were going like, but it's not that for us. It's working for us and has been working for a while. Although if you watch any of our older videos or you listen to our podcast or even read our blog posts, you'll see our entire journey of how we started out very badly in our first year, each of us not making more than $90
Mhm.
in profits or payouts. And we've also took a while to figure out how to get there because, we didn't know what to do on Zazzle. And we came from backgrounds that didn't understand online marketing, print on demand, anything, right? We just said like, oh, this is a great way to make money. Let's do it. And then we were completely floored when we realized, no, actually, we have no clue what the heck we're doing, but we do have an eagerness. We were so excited. We want to make this work. So for me, especially, it took me several years, but by the third year, I was making 5 figures, and
Mhm.
that just doubled and doubled. And at one point, I was making almost $200,000 in US dollars earnings. And I was making consistent 6 figures for years. And what really is important is after that, I realized, well, the other people who want to do this too might be interested in what I have to say. Okay. And that's when I created the 5 strategies. That's when I created my first course. And we tried it out on Jen first. And she actually wasn't, she, at first it was like, well, you can tell your story, but like you didn't want to learn from me, right? Because
Well,
I'm
I
an
mean, it's very vague. I don't remember everything, to be honest, because it was such a long time ago. I think I was being a little bit stuck up and saying, "Well, I can do it on my own." But
you should, right? Like who am I to say what you should do, right? You're a smart girl. And so yeah.
No, but then I actually ended up implementing the 5 strategies which Elka created, and now we teach our Profit by Design Academy coaching clients and anyone who's gone through our courses and our masterminds, and that's the proven plan. And yes, I'll admit too, my first year I made $90, and then I think my second year I was a couple $100. I think in my second, third year, finally I started to see proper income, and then I was upwards of 60 to $80,000 in earnings each year. And this is as a teenager. I think I hadn't even turned 20 yet. And so when I tell that story to people, it's like really incredible, as somebody who hasn't even been to university yet, and they're making that much money without having a real job title or, even a university degree, because I ended up actually dropping out of my second year. So it works, right? And so we're going to get into the fact that we're talking about this person and the case study and everything, but he used these 5 strategies to implement in his store and has now been able to create his business, which now makes him a lot of money each year. and it's consistent and it's secured, right? Because he knows that he has implemented the plan properly and has the specific action steps to take to counteract anything in terms of lower sales per month or higher sales per month. And he's just on his way to grow and grow, and it's pretty incredible.
So yeah, so let's get into this. We talk about Brandon quite a bit, and if you want to know his journey, we have blog posts, we have podcasts about his first year after taking our course that we started out with a long time ago when we first started teaching back in 2017. And he's been with us ever since. Basically, everything that we bring out as new training or elevated training, he's taken because he just sees the value. And one of the values is his time, right? And that's why we've got this title is why create a business that you're doing as a side hustle that's just going to replace your 9 to 5 job in terms of hours. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous, right? The whole idea is to create something that you can either stay and keep doing as a side hustle, which is what Brandon's doing right now. But the ultimate goal for him is retirement. And at that point, early retirement even. And at that point, he's not going to be wanting to work the same number of hours that, he would work at his day job.
Yeah.
And the point here is that if you can't create a business that already works as a business and gives you the result you want, even if it's 6 figures a year in terms of profit, then it's the wrong, like you're not doing it right, right? It's just, and so this was the challenge right from the beginning. And if you read that blog post, you'll see that he basically challenged himself and us to prove that he could do it in 20 hours a month.
He
And
couldn't,
so
or he could do it.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry. He wanted to prove that he couldn't,
Yeah.
and I wanted to prove that he could. And those the framework, the 5 strategy framework, has not changed. We've obviously gotten even more and involved and in depth with him because we're literally like helping him with strategy, and if something sells, we give him extra marketing and things like that. But in the end, the reason that he loves getting our help is because even though the course is there, the it proves and he keeps track of his time. He's consistently, even over 7 years, on average, always spent less than 20 hours a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in this, like this 720 was actually an earnings I asked him about, I think at the end of December of last year. So
December 2024. Yeah.
yeah, the 720,000 earnings profit payout. And he's such a generous guy because he's just always allowed us to talk about him. Obviously, we're going to keep his store under wraps, and we're not going to tell people who he is or where he lives and stuff like that, because that's not fair. But the idea here is that here's someone who has a very demanding 9 to 5 job, completely like at the beginning, incapable of designing anything on the platform. He was a photographer and still is, but like he had a lot of like things to overcome, right? But by getting the framework, the step-by-step roadmap to do and implement the framework, and also to continue to get coaching from us, he's now at $720,000 in lifetime earnings and consistently making 100K plus a year. Okay. And as Jen said, the most important part is having set it up in such a way that he only works 20 hours a month, and that whatever he works, those, like what he does with those 20 hours is to strategically keep scaling the product inventory that he has and managing it. I'm almost going to call it massaging it, because that's kind of what you do, right? You look at your sellers and you have strategies around those sellers, and that's how you get more money out of them, and or create more sellers that also make money. And we're very good at that, which, I mean, I'm just going to like come right and say outset and say that, like, between all of our clients, we've helped them make over $16.5 million in earnings since starting our coaching and training. So we're really excited about that. And it's really nice to know that that's actually the least amount of money that people have made, because we always update these figures about every 3 to 4 months, and that was the updated figure for like November of last year.
Yeah.
We
Just
just, we
wait,
just
go
heard
back
this
into
morning.
it.
Yeah, we
Just
just heard this morning 2 more of our clients went to Diamond, right, which is $500,000 in lifetime earnings.
and those people actually haven't even really talked to us in a while. So,
No.
yeah, but just go back for a second because kind of like $16.5 million. Imagine that dollar amount, right?
Yeah, in total earnings.
In
Those are
total earnings. Yeah.
not sales. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to reflect because you just kind of blew over it. Like I mentioned, like we talked about this on a podcast 3 years
Modest.
ago, and we're like, yes, we've helped our clients sell, $500,000 in sales or something.
Yeah.
16.5 million dollars in earnings on the Zazzle platform, and so yeah, that's a really amazing amount of money. So yes.
And again, we just want to state like this is people who we know, who we track, and who provide us with information about where they are with their earnings. And about 50% of these people that have gone through our training allow us to do that, and we can report those numbers. So there is a whole other half that we don't know much about, and so it's an underestimation, right?
Mhm.
And but as Jen said, one of the things that's really curious is a decision on how you, as a business owner who owns your stores on Zazzle and you're trying to make money, you have to understand how you work and what you want to do for work, right? Like Brandon just says, "Give me what I need, I'll finish it, and then I'm done." Because like he's not interested in spending hours of time researching or trying to figure out how to make something work and testing this, testing that. I mean, he does, but he's very strategic about what he's testing, right? Because he's already getting a lot of internet intelligence from us. And if you look at any business owner that's successful and that gets into the really high numbers, the value is not the money, it's the time spent being effective and reducing that time so that you have a life, right?
Mhm.
So anyone who's struggling and spending like 9 hours a day, which people do, because like I'm going to work hard, I'm going to do this, and they spend and we did this at the beginning until we realized this is nuts. We can't I'm working harder now than I ever did in my corporate job, and I'm making less money. This is not right. What am I doing wrong? That's not right. And I will say the wrong and right here because it's true. It's not like a judgment. It's just obviously I wasn't doing the thing I needed to do in order to get the results. And in the case of now these 5 strategies and the framework that's proven time and time again with hundreds of clients, we are getting to the point where we can say with confidence that if you do the work, you implement everything, and you keep getting the help if you're not getting anywhere, then there's a really good chance that it's gonna work, right? Because you're actually running a business that's offering a service that's going to result in success because you're actually offering, and I'm saying service, even though you're making products that people are going to buy to sell or to use. That's the service, is the use, right?
Mhm.
And from day one, even before we started doing our courses, that's the one distinction is everyone always asked us as designers within the Zazzle forum, like, how did you do this? And it's like, and we kind of going like, well, what do you mean? Like, why aren't you doing this? And the difference is the attitude, right? We serve a customer, whereas everybody else is going like, I want to make money.
Mhm.
And if you serve, then the rewards come. Whereas if you don't serve and you're just like out to get, then you will not possibly get as much or receive as much as you hoped you would, right? What else do you want to talk about in terms of getting like the 20 hours a month? I want to go into details. Like, do you want me to keep going? Like I've
Just
overcome,
go
like I've
again.
dominated this conversation. So
You go for it. Just keep going.
okay, so and I'll watch the time too, but it's not just about follow what Jen and Elke says, right? It's follow the plan and the framework and the strategies that Jen and Elke have tested and proven to work for themselves and for their other clients, and that we can continue to say that work because, as I mentioned, it's even in. I know I didn't mention it here, but if you've watched any of our other videos, alone in 2024, our clients earned over 9.4 million. And you go like, well, but you just said 16.5 million over the time that you've been teaching, and I've been teaching with Jen now for 8 years, right? And it snowballs because everyone starts out with really good foundational work. It takes a little bit of time. It's not a get rich quick scheme, but once you start getting the skill sets, the habits, the research knowledge, the understanding of the market, and you have a really great work ethic and scheduling so that you actually do the work. You're not just like browsing on Zazzle for years, hours at a time, binge watching what other people are doing, and instead you're actually doing work and taking action steps that are going to get you further in your business. Then all of a sudden things start to work. And one of the things that everyone says, not even Brandon, is like, it's working. Right? And so then okay, good. You've done the things that you need, and you're now consistently delivering and understanding your business, and therefore it's starting to work. And so then they're all shocked because they tried so hard on their own. Brandon tried for 5 years before he actually made more than $2,500 on the platform. And as soon as he did 1 year with the course, even though he was only able to spend a couple of 20 hours at max for implementing the course material in that first year, he made $10,000 in profit. The next year, I think he made 30-ish. Then the next year, he made like 60. And then the next year, he's already into 6 figures. And then it just keeps going, right? And all of us, if you even keep in mind that that's how it's got to work, then always push it, right? Always see if you can make more in a shorter time period, but not at the expense of not setting everything up properly so that it can grow on this amazing foundation that helps you thrive and have a really successful 6-figure business ultimately.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else that I missed?
No, I don't think so. Just understanding that there's a framework that's necessary, right? Brandon wasn't able to do these things on his own, and definitely wouldn't have been able to work 20 hours a month making the money that he's making now if he didn't have guidance and he didn't have the framework and the proven plan. Because he's an interesting character where many people, and this is also kind of addressing the theme of a lot of people like, well, I don't have a lot of time and I don't have the energy, or I just don't know where to start. All of those things all put together, because yes, we understand everyone in this entire world has a different schedule. Maybe you have a corporate job, maybe you don't, maybe you have kids, maybe you have little babies to look after and put to bed and make dinner for, and all of those things. So different walks of life have different stipulations of how much time you can really associate with creating a Zazzle business, but know that you can always create time. And Brandon was also, unfortunately, he wasn't very, I would not say, he didn't find us until 5 years had passed. If he had found us on his first year of Zazzle and committed to our program or committed to our coaching, imagine where he'd be at now, because he had the tools necessary for him to work properly, because these were his regulations, right? Of where he could spend only this amount of time. He's not very design oriented, doesn't really know how to structure his business properly because he tried on his own, and it wasn't failing, but it also wasn't succeeding. He wasn't clearly doing something right. And he came into our program, and then this is where all of the things that Elke and I have created and curated in our Profit by Design Academy coaching program help you as an individual, and not only Brandon, but many other people besides Brandon, because it helps people and you yourself, if you're in the PDA or if you're interested in joining the PDA, work within your own parameters, right? And
Yeah.
understand that this may not be 100% that you can dedicate your entire life to, but clearly it's also not something that Elke and I are advocating that you work 9 to 5 on this job either, because the reason why we love Zazzle is that because we can work when we want and put in the time that we want, but because we have the structured plan in place, we know that we can consistently depend on a certain amount of income because we've set everything up properly. And that doesn't mean that you have to spend hours and hours slogging away, right? And it's getting out of the mentality of an hour worked is $1 earned, or whatever amount of money, right? Because Brandon, the reason why he is snowballing in his efforts and his earnings is because he took the time and effort to create his inventory, and those products that he made 5 years ago are still consistently selling for him today, right? So the work that he's putting in today actually doesn't, it's helping him in the future. It's not helping him from in the past. That $720,000 was not made in 1 year. It's made over a generation of sorry, not generation, a period of time throughout the years. And because he put in the work and dedicated and was solidifying, okay, 20 hours a month, I'm going to make it work. Now imagine if he said, well, okay, 4 hours this week, maybe I'll do it next week or maybe next month or whatever. He would not be at $720,000 in earnings, because he committed the time, made it work, and said, I'm just going to do it, right? And no excuses. Because if I give excuses, if I don't have the time, if I'm too tired, if I'm too lazy, too overwhelmed, he would not have those results that he has today. And I think that's all I want to say.
Well, and the framework and the step-by-step process
Yeah.
to
Wow.
actually
Well,
know
that's
what to
why I brought that in
say.
at the beginning of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's how we should end it, is just like, you can work hard, but what are you working hard at?
Yeah.
And that's what, like, people go like, oh, I've spent hours on this. It's like, well, go look and see what you did in those
Yeah.
hours. And that's when you realize, okay, I'm not actually as committed as Jen said, because otherwise I would have used those hours more effectively, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm not as committed because I didn't actually find out how to use those hours more effectively, and then also do the work and be accountable, right? So a lot of the training that we do, even though, and this is one of the it's almost predictable, but it's not just our courses, it's everyone who has a course. There's this group of people that are not going to do well in the course, even though they have the exact same training, attention, etc., and ability as others who do really well. And it's because of their lack of belief in themselves and commitment to do the work, right? Whereas when someone actually just comes and goes like, tell me what to do, or, I got this done, what's next? Then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that person's going to go far. And
Hmm.
so let's get you there, because I think all of us have that in us. It's just there's some other stuff in the way, like maybe we're not feeling worthy, or no one's ever, like, it's going to be scary, or it's going to be, what's going to happen if I make this amount of money? Because some people are like, it's actually fear of success. But once you start to understand that by not having any of those things hold you back anymore, and you get this, like, to be like this excited kid at Christmas that's opening gifts, and you get to like create your own new destiny, then you're going to be just perfectly set up to work even maybe less than 20 hours a month, and just get what you need in order to have that dream life.
Hmm.
Okay. All right,
Well,
I think that's our soapbox for now. But just remember, this is a person who exists. He's one of our top sellers on the platform, and we're so excited that we've been able to help him over these last like 7 years on his journey. And he's not done with us, because he's signed up for our top mastermind this year without even questioning the amount of money that it was, because he knows how much value there is. So just to let you know, sometimes you have to invest in yourself to make the money that you're hoping for and changing your life.
yeah.
It's, yeah.
And if you want to get started with us, because maybe you aren't in any of our programs and don't have an in yet, there are some really great downloadables and an access to a 3-part mini series in the description of this video that will help you get started. And then that's just the beginning, right? Because Brandon found us somewhere on the internet and clicked one of those buttons, signed up for our email list, and here's where he is at today. So maybe this is your chance to change your future by just making that little change. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Right.